football right around the corner is those kind of words strung together. What you've been waiting to hear all summer long, it's here. What are we doing? About 10 days away now from kickoff. We're joined by former Wolverine Jim Scarcelli. I know, Scar, you're fired up, just like everyone else, at the anticipation of the start of another Michigan football season. How you doing?
Yeah, fired up, Denny. We got Saturday. We've got Florida State coming on, so we can get a little taste this weekend. And I'm hearing all kinds of good things about our Wolverines. And you are looking good. You got the nice shirt on. I said, what are you going to the disco tonight, man? You got a big party you're going to? Big D out here pimping.
New shirt. Get ready for the season. I might even shave and take a shower before the start of the season. I'm ready to go.
Looking good. Everybody's fired up, man.
Yes, they are fired up. I know that. Everybody that's watching is fired up about Michigan football. We're going to talk about the depth on this Michigan team and also the Michigan coaches, and then a number of other things that Scar's been thinking about since we last talked with him a week ago that pertains to college football. And let's kick it off with the new Big Ten. The new Big Ten with the additions of those 4 West Coast teams, and Michigan's got a couple of them on their schedule. They'll start out the Big Ten season hosting USC. That's going to be a great one. Going out to Washington, which also will be very noteworthy. Oregon, that could be, who knows? I would guess, it's a pretty easy guess, that's going to be the game of the day, coming up in early November. And then, those are the 3. They don't play UCLA. And so, it's a hard schedule, and a lot of it has to do with these new teams that are in play.
Yeah, Danny, the Big Ten Network does a great job. I've loved it from day one. I've known Coach DiNardo. He was in our living room back in 1979 recruiting my brother, and then he was recruiting me a couple years later. Coach DiNardo. So I go way back with, I never met Howard, but I love it. I love the breakdown. So here's some things I'm learning, listening to these guys, because they go on campus, they talk to coaches. Let's talk USC real quick. Lincoln Riley, the guy's had great success as a coordinator, and then he gets the Oklahoma job, the quarterback guru. So he's got a good quarterback again.
Yeah.
But something of note there, Danny, is the guy running his defense is a Wink. He's under the Wink Martindale tree. So his philosophy defensively, we're going to see probably a mirror image of a lot of the stuff we do from his defensive coordinator. But I just thought that was interesting. Riley calls plays. We're going to see a mirror image of us on defense. So that's that. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I know that Lincoln Riley understands that football is not just offense, that, the other side of it is defense, but he hasn't been able to figure that part out. He's thrown a bunch of different coordinators. This one, he swipes from UCLA, who came in, and he had a lot of success at UCLA. So I don't know. The thing is, watching them, they've been such an embarrassment on defense. That I know they don't hit. They seem like they were playing patty cake during their spring game. They just seem really soft. I know it's the Southern Cal. It's like, let's just throw the ball, and who cares about defense? That's the way they play. But they need a complete mindset shift, and we'll see. Maybe this guy's going to be able to do it.
Denny, I think a lot of their struggles with defending physical stuff is the offense is a spread. It just makes you soft. I've covered that. I've talked about it.
Yeah.
But I think more, it's not that he hired a guy from UCLA. Let me tell you something. Pro football, college football, the John Harbaugh, Wink Martindale tree is real. Okay. And guys are looking for that. I got to give this guy a shout out. Yogi Roth, I think, is outstanding. I love listening to him. He's a former player. He was a walk-on. He's a coach. He was a college coach. I think the guy's great. I'm happy they got Yogi Roth with the Big Ten Network. That's that. Penn State. Danny, there's a lot of other things. There's some things going on. Penn State hired this guy from Kansas, Andy Kotelnicki. Okay. Kansas Number one team in the country with shifting, formations, motions. Michigan was number two, shifting, formations, motion. Okay, you're seeing more and more guys that are realizing the problems that gives for defenses. So more and more people are going to be looking to do those things, following the Michigan blueprint. You looked at these last national champions, and they had a thing on all their recruiting. Georgia, Alabama, they were all like 1 or 2 for the last how many years? You got Michigan down there at 12. Well, they're out coaching people, shifting, motions, scheme, defense, smart recruits, smart kids. Anyway, it's what we do on offense. It's what we do on defense. But anyway, so I listened to this guy, Koltanicki, and this is a phrase. Now we don't play him, but it's important you understand this. He says this was the guy's goal, to be the most stressful team in the Big Ten, the most stressful offense in the Big Ten. Well, what does that mean? That means not so much the best players, but when you put that film on, you're looking at a bunch of stuff, shifting and motions and headaches that gives you just a pain to adjust. And that's what Michigan has given people. That's what Penn State is giving people. I'm going to talk about Iowa in a second. I'm going to let you jump in because Iowa wants to go in the same direction.
Well, if there's going to be a concern for me for Michigan, whenever you hear people talk about Michigan heading into the season, the obvious stuff that they have to replace their entire offense except one guy, and we understand new coordinator, new coach, new quarterback, all of that. Michigan was so good. You mentioned how much the pre-snap number 2 in the country. That was a great graph that you brought up this summer. Now they have all new guys in this role and an offensive line that that they have to be in unison or it's going to fall apart. And then who knows if they're going to have one quarterback, 2 quarterbacks, any of this. If Michigan is still able to do all of this eye candy, shift around, all of this stuff and not commit penalties, I am going to be very impressed by all that. I would think, just as a layman, Scar, that U of M, that they're going to have to dumb that down. Are they still going to be able to do all this high-tech, fancy, 501 football with a bunch of guys that have never played together before?
Danny, they've been in practice all week. Those kids have been there as backups, watching, preparing as if they're going to be the guy in the game. So they've been getting mental reps, and they've been getting actual reps in practice to prepare. This is why, when I look at Gio and Preeb, and is it going to be Crippen? Is it going to be Anderson? These guys have been around. They've prepared in those meetings room and in those practices as if they're the guy, even though they're the second string guy. So there's not I was the second string guy. You got to be ready to go with all the adjustments, all the BS, everything. You got to be just as prepared as the starter. And smart coaches will have that. So I'm not concerned about us mentally, this new offensive line preparing for those things. And those are, go ahead.
I'm going to be very impressed. I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I like what you're saying, and it makes sense. And you played the game, and you were in the exact same situation. When the curtain comes up and I see it, I am going to be very impressed if Michigan is able to, if they're doing the same stuff that they were doing last year. Wow. And not committing the penalties. I'm going to be like, man, you got to hand it. This is a well-oiled machine. This is a coach. I don't know about, seamless transition if you say that in game 1 or game 2, but you're going to say you knew the continuity was so important. Sharon Moore is a Jim Harbaugh guy. They've got the same system in place. And if they're able to get out there, all that stuff that they were practicing and hit the ground running, again, I'll say it, impressive. That'll be very impressive.
Believe me, it ain't going nowhere. Sharon Moore, we're going to see all that stuff. He was there, 7 offensive linemen at Penn State. We are going to see all that. Scar wants all that stuff. Shifting, motions, problems, headaches. Give your team a chance that isn't just based on talent. Try to take advantage of the smart kids we have with the shifting. So anyway, but at the end of the day, Denny, and one of the coaches said this, at the end of the day, after the shifting and the motions and all the stuff, the shifts, you still have to block people. Okay, so that's obviously what you have to do. Anyway, Iowa. We don't play Iowa or Penn State, but I just want you to know it's going on. This Lester guy that was at the head coach at Western Michigan,
Tim
That's
Lester.
the big thing he talked about, was that they are going to be, at the end of the day, they're going to run a lot of Iowa stuff, but they're going to do a whole bunch of shifting and personnel changes and stuff until they get to that point where they snap the football. So I just think that that's a trend. I think Michigan's success is a trend offensively. You're going to see more and more stuff pre-snap to confuse defenses.
Right. And teams, just like in the NFL, they're copycats. They're going to go and they're going to take what has been working. And I don't know, in business, they say, first in wins. I think in college football, it seems like that as well when you get that system going. I can't get it out of my mind last year at SEC Media Days after it was all over. And Nick Saban was on TV there and they were asking him about, what he learned and, how they'll be different. He basically tipped his cap to Michigan and said he sees again what having a dominant line up front and being able to run the ball and being able to protect not only your offense but your defense. And he was so complimentary towards Michigan, and he recognized it. Saban saw it, and he wasn't afraid to say what he was seeing out there.
Did he talk about getting out coached at all, or did he just say Michigan had great players?
No, this was before.
I get it. We did a lot more than just out tailing them. We out coached them too. We fooled them.
That was before they played Alabama. I know.
Trust me, we did things that final play to decide that we stuffed them on the goal line. We out coached them there too. Anyway,
I'm in.
Okay, so it's always listen. I've been the coach, and it's easy to say, "Oh, I got beat because he got better players." Well, sometimes you got to admit that you got out-coached too. I've been out-coached. Anyway, Michigan State. The guy's a good coach. I've said it. He continues to impress me. They are going to be very similar to us offensively. I think that's his philosophy. He's going to be one of the only guys in the Big Ten that is, they're going to be some eye-backs, some pro-style stuff. So that's right in our wheelhouse. We're going to defend the stuff that we see, but they're not going to be a joke team. His defensive coordinator, and the media likes to, sometimes they get this wrong. Okay, so Michigan State hires Minnesota's previous defensive coordinators at Minnesota for 4 or 5 years, whatever. I think he might have been at Rutgers. Anyway, he's been in the Big Ten.
All right.
So they say, oh, well, we want to hire this guy because he knows what the Big Ten coaches do. He knows what they do. Okay, that's great. You do. You'll have an idea what Sharon Moore likes and some of the other people in the Big Ten because you defended them. But there's a downside to that, Denny. Those coaches also know how Joe Rossi thinks, the guy who's the defensive coordinator at Michigan State. You know what I mean? That's a two-edged sword there. You got it? Trust me, offensive coaches, they get a feel for what a defensive coach wants to do too. So I think that's sometimes the way that argument is presented, like, oh, they got Joe Rossi. He knows what everybody does in the Big Ten. Well, yeah, they know what you do too. You follow me? So I just want to point that out, that there's two sides to that argument.
I like it. I like you presenting the other side there.
Yeah, anyway, because I hear some of these guys
come back and say, "Hey, yeah, that's a two-edged sword."
Some of the guys in the media, they're talking about it, but they don't understand the other side of that argument. So
some of those guys in the media,
they never buckled up, Danny. They never buckled up. They never put the chin strap on or the headset.
Sometimes it's amazing. You wonder how they got in that seat and how they got those jobs.
That's right. Yeah, who do you know?
Let's go over their credentials and everything else. Sometimes they just look good,
Yeah, what else? Anyway, that's pretty much.
It's a visual medium. I'm for. If I'm running things, I'm going to put somebody on the desk that looks pretty good. And they got to be able to talk football too. But here they are. Let's say you dress sharp, you look good. Let's go. Cut your hair.
Those are just some of the notes I had looking at the Big Ten. And
well, Scar, before we run through the team, and I'll just ask you for if you want to make a point, anything, as we're 10 days away from the start of the season. We had a few people asking questions. Did you see actually Michigan's the network?
I haven't even watched it yet. That one was I think I just recorded it. And no, I should have been on it. No, I have not.
All right. Here is Mark talking about Iowa and Michigan getting 2 transfer linebackers. They feel like they reloaded with great recruitment and development. Why? What are they doing that works so well at Iowa with their linebackers, and how can Michigan emulate it? Sorry.
Mark, I had this talk with someone that knows football that was just stroking Phil Parker and Iowa's defense, how they don't give up points. I said, well, let me tell you something too that this guy didn't understand. The thing about when you look at Iowa's stats and you see how great a defense they play, Denny, their offense huddles. Their offense runs the football. Even though it's not the best, they huddle, they run the football. If you count the total number of possessions that Iowa's defense has to play compared to like a USC, it's night and day. There's probably twice as many possessions USC's defense is on the field compared to Iowa's. You follow me? So some of those stats are going to be skewed based on what your offense does. So I some of those, again, you have to decipher some of those stats.
Here's a question from Ferris, who says, what do you think of Loveland lining up sometimes at wide receiver? They can get their other 2 tight ends on the field at the same time that way.
We've done that a lot. We've already done that. We've split Loveland out, way out over the numbers where he's lined up as this, we come out in a formation. See, that's why you like to have, Danny, that's why you like to have tight ends that can block at the line of scrimmage, and then you can split them out and shift them out there, and now you got some big linebacker covering them. You got it? He's got to be big and tough enough to line up when we're in a tight formation and play the run. And now when you split Loveland out, now that guy, you can exploit him. We've done that. We did that big time against Michigan State 2 years ago. Anyway, yes, we already do that with Loveland. We split him out. We take advantage of his athletic ability, and we're going to do more of that with this young 83. We're going to see more of Marshall this year. Scar is born. You remember the picture, yeah. But anyway, yeah, we're going to do some things with our tight end. Loveland's going to have a great.
What do you just pull it out of tight end out of thin air? You think Zach Marshall is going to be could factor in?
No, I think Denny. I think Zach Marshall is. He's gotten bigger, stronger. He's a different kid. He's an athletic kid. He was recruited pretty highly, and he was too small last year. He's a bigger, stronger kid. He is going to be a guy that's going to get some reps. He's going to be a guy that's going to play. He's play in space and be a factor. I think Coach Casulo, I listen to what these coaches say, and you got to try to decipher it. And he's fired up for Marshall. Marshall's going to be a factor. He's a big athletic kid. He looks like an Eric Alls to me.
Mm. Good to hear.
He's a different kid than he was that we saw, in the spring. These guys put on 15 pounds, man.
Rashad's talking about my pessimism for Orgy completing downfield passes, and look, I'm just giving you my observations. If you want Michigan cheerleaders, there's plenty out there that they're never going to say anything, just off anything. It's all just everything. The last 3 years, Michigan, they're really everything's been great. So if you just want to hear nothing but people blowing Michigan, there's plenty of places that you can go and find it. I'm just giving you my opinion on what I think. Mark wants to know if you expect a lot of vanilla offensive line play game 1. He does.
Hey, look, Mark, we run what we run, okay? We run zone, inside zone, and we run power. Block down, kick out, and zone. That's the first stuff our linemen are going to learn. Yeah, we're going to run that stuff, but we're still going to shift in motion and try to do the things that we do because, we beat Alabama at the end there running our basic vanilla best football play, the power play. So, we do a lot of shifting to get to those plays. And, to answer your question, I don't think we're going to show up against Fresno and not shift or motion and maybe just come out in 1 or 2 formations. No, I think you're gonna see Michigan football. We're gonna do what we do on offense. Danny, let me say this. I read what Coach Morgan said, our secondary coach.
Yeah, Lamar Morgan. Yeah.
He said this about Michigan, talking about recruiting kids and this, that, or whatever, and talking about our secondary. This is how he defined Michigan's offense. He said, look, we're a downhill football team. Okay, our offense is, we want to run downhill. We want to run inside zone. We want to run power. But then we're a play action, take shots team. Okay, Danny, do you get that? So you suck them in with power, zone, power, and then you hit the deep one off the play action. So I think we're going to see that this year. And I have a lot of confidence that Orgy's going to be fine, Denny. I have a lot of confidence. I think.
I'd like to hear that.
Well, my thing is, listen, I know being a coach, that when I always played my second string quarterback in the first half, regardless of the score. Period. It was just my philosophy. I didn't want to put the kid in at the end of the game and when it's whatever. So I played my guy. Okay, but when I did play him, it was handing the ball off, or it was really high percentage short passes. You got it? So I wasn't going to have that kid go in there and let it rip. So I think they had the same philosophy with Orgy. They had their little package and let him run the football, let him get comfortable, let him get reps, let him get confident. And, I think they did throw one pass, maybe this past year with him. But I think a lot of that was just like, that's not what we want him in here for. We can be successful with him running our package, but he sure as hell isn't going to be in the hunt to be our starting quarterback if he can't let it rip with any kind of consistency. So I think you're going to be a believer after game one, Danny. You're going to see that, yes, we know that he's going to do the things we've already seen, but when they suck up, those defenses are overcommitting to stop our run game, and even more they're going to overcommit with him in the game. There's going to be some guys that are going to be wide open.
Well, the number one thing everyone wants to see at the end of this month or 10 days is a victory. Number two, they want to see Orgy throw the ball downfield. So, hey, I'm ready for it. I'll be excited just like everyone else. I can't wait. You want to know everything that's going on with the Maize and Blue Review. Scar's mentioned Wink a couple times here, Michigan defensive coordinator. Nice post by Josh Henschke on the Maize and Blue Review today about Wink and blitzing and all that. To access that, you become a member of the Maize and Blue Review. You do that by going to michigan.rivals.com. And with the season 10 days away, you can't get enough Michigan content. And then once the ball's in the air, everything that goes on through the season, recruiting and everything else, I'd love to see you over there on the Den. That's the posting board on the Maize and Blue Review. Scar, you mentioned recruiting just a few minutes ago.
Let me finish up on Wink.
Go ahead.
I've met Wink recently, and let me tell you, that guy's a flat-out stud. I can see why the players love playing for him. I met him years ago. I worked Michigan's camp with him. We talked about it. I remember him as a young coach. He had a vague memory of me. We know a bunch of the same people. But I listen to what the players and the other coaches are on our Michigan staff. He's a leader. And you know what the players see too, and the other coaches? They see credibility with Wink. Credibility. Where this guy's been, what he's done. And he's a great leader with the coaches and the players. And he talked about Mason Graham and Kenny Grant, that when they have good practices, we have good practices. I understand that as a player and coach, that, if your top guys are dragging their butt and, flopping around, not working real hard, sometimes that can affect your practice. But he talked about that. But anyway, I'm sensing a lot of confidence with the players, and you hear the assistant coaches talking, that this guy is the real deal. And all that. And from, I just don't, again, I think, Danny, that he is going to be a guy that will be very, very difficult for people to get a beat on what the hell he's going to do. And I think what we do on defense, Denny, is really helping our offense. No, I know as a former coach, sometimes, the offensive coach will say, well, we're not going to see all that blitzing from anybody else. We're not going to see that coverage from anybody else. But I think what Wink does on defense is really, really helping our offense out, because we're going to see all kinds of different pressures. We're going to see every zone package, every man package, combo, coverages, different guys at the line of scrimmage that are blitzing. Some are dropping. Sometimes we bring safety. Sometimes we drop edges and drop D linemen. So I think that stuff is going to be good. In fact, Kasulu talked about that, Denny, that all of the different stuff Wink does, it forces our offense to, really adjust and adapt to because we're going to see this stuff against USC. Again, that guy's a Wink guy. You know what I mean? So a lot of good things about what's happening with our defense.
I think it's two things, when you listen to you talk about Wink. I wonder if the United States would have won a gold medal if I was coaching the team rather than Steve Kerr and his assembled staff of guys that have been around the league for hundreds of years, with LeBron and Kevin Durant and everything else. My point here is that I think they would have actually won the gold medal. I would have played Jason Tatum a little bit more, but I think they would have got it done. And there's a huge gap between, Steve Kerr and me. Not such a big gap when you're talking about Jesse Minter and Wink. So you should feel pretty good about that. I think of another thing. One time when I was out at MIS, out at the Michigan International Speedway, they have a go-kart track that's right next door, Scar. And Alex Zanardi, this great racer, Italian racer, I was there covering the event, and I had the best go-kart on the track. And he told me, just get behind me and I'll show you where to go. And I followed him the whole way. I ended up winning the whole thing. And at the end, what he told me, he said, out here, he says, you have to have the machine. You have to have the machine underneath you and you can win. And I followed one of the greats all through the pack and was able to get up there. Now, he said it's a big difference when you go across the street and you're going, 200 miles because, you can end up in the wall and, go-kart is way different. But the point there is that if you have somebody in front of you and you're following them and you've got the machine, Wink's got the machine to take him to the front, and he understands.
Yeah, I agree with some of that, when you're playing Indiana or Fresno State, okay? But when we got to go down to Columbus and play somebody who has every bit as much talent, if not the most talent in the country, okay, we got to outcoach people too, man. It isn't just about lining up. It ain't just about the Jimmies and the Joes there, man. It's the guys moving the X's and the O's too.
Great point.
And we've outcoached them in on both sides of the ball, I think, the last 3 years. So you're absolutely right. We hit the jackpot with McDonald and Minter, and they worked under the OG. Hopefully, and we're just hoping the OG gives us, the same thing we've gotten.
The old grandpa. That's what he said.
Danny, I want to talk about Esposito.
Hold on, Scar. Let me just tell everybody. You got Andrew Marsh yesterday, exciting there. And Michigan now sits with 17 commitments. And today they went up to number 13 on the Rivals.com team ranking. So things are going there. Esposito is Michigan's defensive line coach.
Hey, Danny, where's Marsh at? Marsh is from where again?
Texas.
Yeah, that's good, man. We're getting a kid from the state of Texas, Texas A&M, and all that money they got.
Caddy, Texas.
Yeah, and this kid wants to come up to Michigan, so that's great. Just great news.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. How about Esposito?
I listen to Espo, and I think Espo has the front five. Okay, so they broke it down just the same way Jim had it. Mike Elston had the front five on defense. He's got the 2 edge players and the 3 inside guys, which that's a lot to coach. Okay, you don't normally see that. Mm-hmm. But he has a grad assistant, he has one of the analysts with me. When I played, there was one coach that was responsible just for the edge players, and then another coach responsible for the D line. But the way they do it, because Wink is a walk-around coach, he doesn't have a position. He's got Espo coaching the front five, so he's got all those guys, the inside guys, and he's got the edge guys. Okay, so, but again, he has an analyst with him. And, Denny, we're listen, our starters are in great shape. and I think we're pretty darn accurate with what we're seeing here in the depth chart. I think Ike is going to give us. He's a big body in there. He's going to play good technique. He's not going to get knocked out of there. I don't know how much he's going to give us on pass rush. I'm trying to think what he would compare to, but he's a big body, going to be good against the physical stuff. Pierce is a little more athletic. Pierce could be like a Jenkins. Okay. He could be. He's still a young guy, but he's a big, strong, tough. Eno Etta, Denny. This is my view of Eno Etta. He's up to 305. First, they had him on the edge. Eno Etta, Kenny Grant, you're not going to know the difference when they're in the game. That's kind of, I think Eno Etta is going to have a hell of a year. They're both 6'5", 300-pound kids. And the only difference is Etta wears 17, Kenny Grant wears 78. So I think when those two, you're not going to know the difference in terms of performance, because I think Etta's going to have a hell of a year. And these are the names, because, again, all those other three guys are gone. Grant could be gone. Mason Grant could be gone. Ration Berry's gone. We want to know how we beating Ohio State next year with our D-line. And it could be those three guys right there, the names you have listed. And they're all doing a good job.
Love to hear you talk about these defensive linemen like that. There you go. And then
Danny, I got to finish up on Espo because I listened to him.
Go ahead.
Coaches have things they emphasize. Coaches have things that they emphasize as a coach. And I totally understand the things he talked about. And, you just know his players are going to hear this more than anything. Espo talked about, he said, the first day of practice, this is what I talk about, hands and effort. Hands and effort. So that was Brady Hoke's big thing, is hands, punching with elbows in, hands. I worked with Brady at the camp for many years when he was the D-line coach. And, you don't want to talk about too many things because then they forget the real basic things. But Espo's things, it was just interesting for me as a player to hear and coach that he wants hands and he wants effort. And that's where those are the two things he's going to really emphasize. And I just thought that was interesting that those are the things. Those are the things he emphasizes.
Well, let me dust off my Brady Hoke impersonation. It's probably been 10 years since I've done one. Well, Scar, Gabe's going to be there, and he's pretty good. Well, it's been a while since I've.
That was pretty good, Danny. That was pretty good.
Yeah, you know what? If you think about guys and their hands there, Mason Graham, I was talking with somebody what makes him so good and what made him so good right off the bat. And he says his hands. He was a wrestler. He gets his hands on the offensive lineman and he's just moving them out of the way.
Danny, I watched the kid. I told you they had his high school league on one of our local channels here. And I watched that kid. Yeah, he was, but a lot of guys are good at using hands, Danny, and punching and using hands, but it's hard to come off blocks when a 300-pounder is blocking you. And he does a great job with the ability to do that. Yeah, hopefully TJ Guy will have I think TJ Guy and Ed are going to have breakout seasons, man. They're going to give us a lot of confidence, both those guys, going into next year. That's how I see it.
Great. I like to hear it.
What else? Yeah. So anyway, you've got get them edge guys up there, Denny. So we know Derek Moore and Josiah Stewart are going to be all Big Ten type players. And that's the question, is Cam Brandt and TJ Guy, are they going to step up, to give us that same kind of confidence, like Harrell and McGregor gave us when they were backups. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what but I honestly believe we're going to get that. Nichols is the young kid. Ishmael is a young guy, played a different position, big athletic kid. And Anwanua he's a big, tough athletic. Those are three names that are going to challenge Brandt and Guy. And those are also three names, those young guys. They might not be much of a factor this year, but those are good-looking athletes we've recruited that are going to be, in the mix to give us great depth the following year. So we've recruited good players there. The coaches have already talked about Nichols. as a guy who's made his presence felt as a true freshman.
Yeah, if there's a position on each side that jumps out to me that Michigan's been doing a great job, edge is one of them, tight end's the other one. They're just putting guys in. If you tell me that Baxter and Nichols and all the Ishmael, Kumba, that these guys, that some of them are going to hit and Michigan's going to be good on the edge with this defense, because what you see with Derek Moore, Josiah Stewart, I'm going to nod my head and feel pretty good. And on the other side, it's the tight ends and what they've been doing there. It feels like it's a reload type situation.
Yeah. So, you like the hairdo? Ted likes the new cut. All right. I just got it.
Oh, did you? I didn't know that. Nice job.
Last week got it pimped out. Linebackers.
Linebacker, Scar. Yeah.
As good as we've had. This Barham kid is a flat out stud. Is he a 1-year guy? Maybe he's going to be a high pick, probably. Hausman's going to have a great year, but we have great depth there. Rolder is making a step. Hood is making a step. Don't forget about the Pollard kid. He's a guy that's in the mix, and Cole Sullivan has made his presence felt as a true freshman. But I think Rolder and Hood, again, this is what I want to hear. I want to hear about the backups for next year. I want to hear about the backups if Hausman gets banged up. How confident are we? How good are we? And I think that's pretty accurate. And I think we've got 4 good ones ready to go right there, man. And
Micah Pollard, linebacker, Harbaugh, both Jay and Jim at different times last year would mention Micah on special teams and just how, whether it was kickoff or punt, I don't know if he was where he was at in the mix there, but I know they give like special teams. That's how you get those stickers, right? Even if you're not that special teams, that's a big part of it, being out there and he acquitted himself pretty well last year. So
yeah, he was outstanding. He was on kickoff. I think he was on punt. And your line, when you put your punt team, your punt return, your kickoff, you normally start with linebackers, Denny. Those, and safeties. You're going to see linebackers and safeties on all that stuff because you got to have some size to punch and block, and then speed and athleticism to cover, and then you got to tackle. So, yeah, you're going to see a lot of those type of guys on there.
Hood is somebody I root for. You listen to Hood for 1 minute and you come away as a huge fan. I don't know if it's his father or if it's mother is a preacher, but you listen to him talk. He's someone who you put up there. What did they have? They have an award like the greatest enthusiasm unknown to mankind. I wouldn't be surprised if Hood ends up winning that. Last year, you look in it's how he talked. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being Jaden Hood. Man.
What'll be interesting, Denny. What'll be interesting to see is Wink's philosophy with rotations.
Ooh.
Mike McDonald had a philosophy. He didn't rotate inside backers,
right?
Much at all. And Minter did not much his first year. His second year, he rotated a lot. That's why Junior had such a much better year last year, in my opinion, because he was off the field. So hopefully, Wink, what I would do if I'm coaching, Rolder and Hood are going to play in a rotation. They might only get 25% of the reps, but they're going to go into a game knowing that you're going to be in the rotation and it isn't just going to be mop-up time or covered kicks. So hopefully these guys will get reps because I think Barham and Hausman will be better players when they can get off the field and get a drink of water.
I like it. The safety position, Michigan's got 2 transfers that are in the mix there. Q Joe, Makari Page, and then maybe Hillman also. This just at the safety position looking pretty good. And I got a picture.
Penny, I'm gonna go out on a little prediction here. I told you Eno Etta and Kenny Grant are going to be. You won't be able to recognize the difference other than their number. Right. I'm gonna predict that all 4 of those guys right here will start a football game at safety. Yeah, I don't know that anything is set in stone. I think we have 4 really, really good safeties that are going to be competing like crazy every day, which is, we got a great problem there, great situation. I watched Mangum play in high school. I watched him when he was at State. He's there was some indication from his coach. Morgan indicated he's got to get the defense down. He's making, he can't make mental mistakes. So some of the stuff might be a little more elaborate than what he was doing at Michigan State. So, that's the Wink stuff. That's the downside of what Wink does is, sometimes you have really, really great athletes that you can't get them on the field because you're worried they're going to make mental mistakes if you run a lot of stuff. But I think all four of them guys are going to play a lot of football for Michigan this year.
I love the prediction, Scar. And Zeke Berry, who was pictured likely Michigan's nickel. You mentioned Lamar Morgan. He said Zeke Berry was the first name in there. McBurrows gets some burn as well. But they all, when it's been Sharon Moore or Lamar Morgan, they go to Jair Hill's name pretty quick, talking about him over at the one corner. And they all seem to, I say all, both Morgan and Moore have mentioned the Hall kid from Albany. So, they look like they have some depth here. Keyshawn Harris was out there early in the season last year. He's been around the program for a long time. Who knows what Ricky Johnson III is going to end up bringing to the table. So here we are.
Yeah, I think Barry's going to finally get a lot more clock this year. He's a guy that's improved. I like Hill and McBurrows because I like them both because they'll come up and tackle. Them guys will come up and tackle and get the coverages down, be in the right spot. So, yeah, I think we got a lot of depth there, but Barry's going to get a lot more time, and that's what I like about Hill and McBurrows. So,
all right. Well, Scar, we're just walking through the team a little bit. I like some of the observations. We went through and talked a lot about the defense. We'll just work through, and we're all excited to see what happens with the quarterback position for the opener in 10 days. The running back position, Donovan Edwards and Khalil Mullings. I know Jordan Marshall's name has been mentioned. Ben Hall. Michigan's loaded at running back. They've got a lot of guys here who are going to be fighting for carries. But how they use Edwards, how they use Mullings, and then who that third guy is going to be pretty exciting if you're a Michigan fan taking this one in.
Yeah, a lot of competition. The coaches will have to decide, you got, Donovan, you can count on Mullings. Ben Hall is the big physical kid. And then you got to decide who do you want to give the reps to as a coach. Capani is a young kid. Jordan Marshall, the freshman. Cabana is getting bigger, better. He's in the mix. So it'll be interesting to see when we put on that Fresno game, who are the third and fourth running backs, because our decision will be decided by the coaches when you see that, because we know that when we're going against Texas, it's going to be Edwards and Mullings getting the reps because they can count on them to block the right guy. They can both pass protect. They both will secure the football. So those two are going to be in the game against Texas. It's, which direction do they go for 3-4 in the future against Fresno? Then we'll get some questions answered. But, a lot of competition there, man.
Well, here is the part. If Michigan is, Blake Corum is Michigan's greatest running back of all time, and they lose him. But, I'm over here talking about it. I think they do reload. And nobody liked Blake Corum more than me. But if they really are able to run the ball, and, if it's Orgy over there and what he brings, here's Richard talking about this team might be more stacked than the national pundits predict. So,
yeah, the pundits, Danny, I got to jump in, man, because I'm looking at these running back. We got a great looking running back room. All of CBS clowns, all five of those clowns had Ohio State number one. All five of them. They got Michigan like 3 or 4. Okay, our defense, I'll take them against their defense any day of the week. Any day of the week. Wink against whatever. What the hell's his name? Jim. What's their
Knowles.
What is it?
Knowles.
Yeah. I ain't buying it. And then we look at our running back room. Let's get good quarterback play, and I just ain't buying it at all. All of CBS is crazy. They all got the Buckeyes. We'll see, man. We'll see.
I like you. You're worked up 10 days before the season.
So whatever, man. I don't know what the hell they're seeing. They got the kid.
Go ahead, Scar.
They got the kid from Ole Miss, the running back, and they got the other guy back. Well, you can only play one of them, and then you got your quarterback. I don't know if he can throw. So I don't know.
One of those CBS guys was, Michigan doesn't have any wide receivers. They don't have anybody to throw to over here. Well, we have seen a little bit more. The coaches, they talk a lot about Tyler Morris, and we saw the big play that he made in the Rose Bowl. He looked great. I mean, not only did he burn down the field, but he reached out. I mean, great athleticism. And then they talk about him nonstop. And he's made a lot of clutch third down plays. Now, I was talking with somebody yesterday. He told me, and this is somebody, who, when Mason Graham was a freshman, he said, this is going to be Michigan's best, defensive tackle ever. I said, well, that's, it's pretty early to say that. It wasn't even before the first game. He might be right about that. He was telling me that he thinks Samaj Morgan is the next Desmond Howard. He said the moves, and then he said, and I said, well, the punt return was good. He says, not just a punt return. You get the ball in his hands, the way he weaves through traffic, gets in there, scores a touchdown, sits down on a route. He thinks Morgan is the superstar of this group. What do you think about the wideouts?
Yeah, the kid's a phenomenal athlete, and he really improved later in the year. And our guys have to be able to block, because we run it more, and they got to be ready, willing, and able to do that. But I think we got our receiver crew is solid, and you're right, Danny, about Morgan. Fred Moore got a lot of playing time, and we'll use these guys in different ways, man. We'll use them on bubble screens and reverses and a lot of the different ways we get the ball to these guys, more so than other people.
Could be a superpower here, the way Michigan drags these tight ends.
Danny, listen, I really I think Loveland is like, we know he's great in space. We know he can catch the football. He's going to make the extra step as a blocker. The ultimate tight end I want are the guys like Eric Caddis I played with, block and catch. The great tight ends at Michigan, Scooney, block and threat. We can split them out. Klein's going to give us that. We'll be able to split out Klein. See, when we line up with two tight ends in a tight formation, they got to bring big guys in to defend that formation. And now if we split them out and shift them out, again, we can exploit those linebackers. So anyway, I got a lot of faith in our first two tight ends. Now the question is, who's 3, 4, 5, etc.
Yeah.
We've recruited well. I told you, I think Marshall is going to give us something in space. I think Tonelli could be more of a blocking tight end. I think he's going to give us that. And Prescorn is a good-looking athlete, big kid. He's gotten bigger. He's a tall 6'6" kid with athletic. He could be something real special. I mean, he's going to be a true freshman. Is he going to be able to block at the line of scrimmage? I don't know, but he's going to play this year.
So you think Marshall will be more of a pass catching tight end?
I don't. I just think we got to see these guys block, Denny. And
I know.
I just saw how he was being used in the spring. He's got to be able to put his hand on the ground next to a tackle and run our power play. And I seen Tonelli do that in the spring game. The H-back, Danny, is a different position. I don't call Max Bredesen is not a tight end. I would call him an H-back, fullback. In our offense, I don't know I'm trying to think who backs up Bredesen. I can't think of who our guys on the website had it.
Oh, who's Michigan's backup H-back?
Hoffman. I think it was Hoffman.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Hoffman.
I think that's who they had as the backup there. But those are H-backs / fullbacks. We're one of the only schools in the country that still has a title, and they probably don't even want to call them a fullback. I don't know. Maybe they don't want that name. They want to be called H-backs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't want to be called a fullback. But we do have to identify who is our backup, and we'll see that against Fresno. But from what I was reading, it might be the Hoffman kid. I think it's number 42.
All right. I'm with it. right now we sit here, there's still battles going on the offensive line. You got potentially 3 guys. The name keeps popping up is Jai Deese. He's a hard name when you look at it. You don't want to say Jai Deese, but he could play guard. He could play center. It's nice to have some flexibility from those inside guys. And, I know you said, no, it was Jerry that was saying that he has all of his guys taking snaps at center, no matter what.
It's not a position as a coach, I like to rotate, which kind of hurts centers at times. You'd like to be able to maybe rotate some tackles, because I think we have tackles that we could probably rotate, give each guy reps, but that's one of them positions. So Denny, I got no clue. I think the coaches have a lot of confidence in all 3. And I just don't know how that thing's going to come out. You're cheering for all of them, but you feel bad because Anderson and Crippen are both, older guys. They've both been paying their dues. Right. Maybe one of them can work in as a backup guard. I don't know, but we won't know until the Fresno game. These 2 guys are battling out. Nothing's decided. Percy's they're both big, tall, 6'6", 6'7" kids. And, Denny, ain't nothing wrong with having 2 real good ones there. And then maybe one of them is backing up Hinton. I don't know how they're sizing it up, but that position apparently is still up for grabs. Both of them could very easily give us what we've gotten at that position the last 3 years to win a championship. I think Percy's a much bigger, better player than he was again in the last year and the year before.
Yeah, well, he's the one that's interesting. I mean, that guy's a skyscraper, and we'll see. They're going to need him over there at right tackle, and that's going to be the part we're looking at. Looks like this, I don't know, set in stone, but 78, Miles Hinton over there on the left side.
Yeah, and apparently Link has been doing some great things too. So, maybe that's just the way they're going to go, is just Link and Hinton at left, and then the other 2 guys at the right. And then if we have a lot of faith in them and you like them, and then you come up with 7 offensive lineman packages to get them both in the game.
There you go. I think we've worked.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Adam. These pundits are nuts. Like, okay, we lost a lot of good players. Well, let me tell you, Gio was right. Those guys were right there last year in terms of talent. So they're going to be bigger, better players. They're going to just get their shot. You're not going to see us miss a beat. I ain't buying that at all. They're crazy. We got guys that are highly recruited. They're 4 or 5. I think Gio's a 5th-year guy. Preeb is a 4. Our whole line is 4 and 5-year guys, Denny. These ain't young kids that were just sitting around doing nothing the last 3-4 years. They were prepared. They got reps every week in practice. They were prepared in those film rooms as if they were going to be in there one play, if one guy got hurt. So I ain't buying it, man. Gio's going to have a hell of a year. Preeb, our offensive line is going to be right up what we've done the last 3 years.
I like to hear it, and
I believe it. Now, listen, we got to do a great job with play calling and quarterback, and everybody else got to play, man. You can't just blame the offensive line.
Jay's got El Hadi down as a redshirt junior.
Okay, so he'll have 2 years then. He'll have this year and another one.
Yeah, he is a 21, so that comes out as a redshirt junior for me. So that's it. Do you think
hey, Mark, listen, what I'd like to see against Fresno, is like a 35, 6 game where our starters play 3 quarters, and then we get young guys in the 4th quarter a little bit, and we play 40-some guys in a regular rotation on defense. I'd like to see 40-some guys, the top 22 get a ton of reps on defense. And then you'd like to see Percy and Gentry get reps at tackle. And you'd like to see some of these positions, where you can play the other guy too, to see how they play in front of 100,000,
Absolutely. I'd like to see a big blowout, and I'd like to see Jordan Marshall. I
want to see a game a little bit. I want to get tested a little bit. And, but yeah, you want us to play well. We want to play well, but I don't mind getting playing. I think they're going to they're good. I was looking at some film of them today. Danny, they got a quarterback back. He can run. He can throw.
Right,
He's a returning starter. And, they got players, man.
What about this question from Mark, who follows up with the outlook for throwing to the running backs?
Well, I think we're going to do what we've done. And Mullings has shown he can catch the football. We've thrown the ball to him. And obviously we know Donovan can. So all those things are tougher to defend. So I don't know which of the young guys we can throw to, but it's all that more difficult to defend. Denny, I was thinking about fall camp starting. I just have to share this story. And the coaches recruit these kids. You watch them on film. You go to their game. You watch them in high school play against high school kids, and then you get them in camp. And now you get to really get some questions answered. And you find out that first day you scrimmage. What do I really have? I saw him play against other little high school kids and kick everybody's butt. But what's he going to do now when he's in Ann Arbor playing against other 4 or 5 star kids who've been lifting weights and all this? And I think that, the coaches are getting, like I mentioned a couple names on that D line, that I think you're going to hear some other names. Palapali, how do you say it?
Pali, yeah.
Anyway, some of these names, I think there's some excitement for because you see right away that first day you hit. I remember, I got to tell you a quick story. My first day at Michigan, putting the pads on, the first hitting practice, I'll never forget it. We did the defense was on one end, and we broke up into our position groups, but they filmed, we called it a goal line tackle drill. Goal line tackle. We were 1 yard apart, and it was a full go, take the guy down to the ground, collision, strike, drive your feet, take the guy down to the ground. And the guy carrying the faking like he was a running back had to run as hard as he could, and the defender had to bring him to the ground. Okay. We did this drill, and the coaches were recording it. Okay. So I'm up next in line to do this drill. And I tackle my guy, and I strike him, and I knock, good tackle. I bring him to the ground, blah, blah, blah. My coach ran up to me. He ran up to me. He grabbed me by the shirt collar. He said to me, "You can play here." One play. He watched one play, one of the very first plays we did that first day of full pads. He grabbed me by the shirt collar, and he said, "You can play here." Okay. As a 18-year-old kid, I don't know what the hell that means. I have no idea what that drill meant, what he meant. I don't know nothing. I'm just surviving. I'm going through it, whatever. Okay. So I became a coach. And now when you become a coach, I know exactly what the hell he was talking about and what he meant by that. Because you can get a pretty darn good idea with just a couple collisions, a couple hits, a couple drills to find out who the hell can play. So I did that drill as a coach, the same exact way my coach did it, the same way, 1 yard apart. It was a full goal collision drill. And I would kind of treat it the same way my coach did. And you hope I remember a kid that moved into our district, and I never had the kid before. He looked good on the hoof, and we did that drill, and I'm like, man, we got us a linebacker. I could tell one drill. So what the hell's that got to do with what's going on? I think, Denny, our coaches are getting they're getting a lot of good news from this early scrimmaging, from what I'm believing on a lot of these young guys. Beagle, the young D lineman.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out for that kid too. So here's another name I think that we're going to hear about. There's some guys that we're optimistic about.
Love to hear that about the young guys. As fans, I can recall it's not the same thing as being in practice on the first day of the first play, but I remember being at a Purdue game where Biaka Batuka was a freshman and they gave the ball. It was late in the game. It's one of these things that you watch football all day. We'll be doing it on Saturday because it's a late game, but you get into that fourth quarter, and that's where some of these guys that you're talking about, the Polys and the Bagels, they'll come in, and you're like, whoa. I can remember Biaka Batuka in that fourth quarter. They gave the ball, and you're like, look at this guy. You give him another carry, and there he is again. And, he he ended up being pretty
Yeah,
good.
Danny, you ain't going to hear me. You will never hear me talk about this is the best player at this position at Michigan ever. I ain't never going to be that guy because I could have named 10 guys that would question your quorum as the best running back. I don't want to get into that argument because you're never going to hear it from me. Anyway, that's that. I just had to throw. But Bianca Batuco, Wolf Falk, Jamie Morris. I can go on and on, man. A Train. Anyway, that's another argument for another day. Danny? What about Courtney Morgan, the guy that used to be at Michigan? They're paying him $800,000 a year at Alabama for. They call him a general manager. That's unbelievable. That's like a recruiting guy, whatever the hell he does. $800,000 a year for that position. That's where we are with the importance of that position, man. That's unbelievable.
Courtney knows how to move around. I mean, he is on his, I thought he was at Washington, Michigan. He's just making them every year. He's somewhere else.
Yeah, well, he must be good at what he does, man. No, the guy at Washington, he hooked up with him and went to Washington when he left Michigan. And then,
yeah, there you go.
That guy loved him. And how about Prime down in Colorado? He's got his headset sponsored. Like you got your headset on. Prime has a sponsor going to put their name on his headset. Going to pay him. I don't know how much, but these guys are thinking about ways to make money, man.
Well, I always noticed, that I don't know if it's a Big Ten might have a deal, but there's signage on like Harbaugh. It wasn't just. I remember back in the day, Bo just had one of those. What do they call those things where you print your name? You just get a little.
Yeah,
you had about mailboxes and everything.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Just said Bo across there, very small, but yeah, I mean they've got whatever the wireless or it's not wireless, so whatever it is, I forget who was on there, but yeah. Anywhere you can put signs, Coach Prime knows how to. Coach Prime might not win that many games, but he's making a lot of money. His kids,
these guys are, they got to find ways to make money, man, because it's all about making that bread, man. You want to buy these kids. These kids, first thing they want to know, is money talks, man. BS walks. So
Myers,
it's where we are.
Myers,
yeah, I didn't know that Meyer was doing that with our. I didn't know that.
I love the how smart. Michigan fans.
Let me just say this. Let me say this finishing up. I know people, I like our schedule big time. Okay. I like it big time because I was always trained and the mindset was the Big Ten championship, winning that is number one.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we win the Big Ten championship, we play in the playoff, right?
Playoff.
Okay. So our schedule is great. We're gonna have a first time
if you win the Big Ten. Sorry, Scar. Go ahead.
We got a first-year starter going to make his first start against Fresno, a team we should beat. We got defense, we got run game. We should be able to help them. But I like that we're playing a tough Texas team, game 2. I really, really like it. It's because we will find out our strengths, Denny, but we will find out our weaknesses. We might not see them against Fresno, but we're going to find out our weaknesses that we got to improve on. To get ready to win a Big Ten championship. I love the fact that we're playing Texas for a lot of reasons. It's going to get us ready, and you'll know where the hell you stand.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about anybody saying, well, they're just saving it. Nah, they're vanilla. You're not going to be vanilla. They're not saving anything against the Horns, Scar.
No, absolutely not. And you talked about just throwing guys out there that anybody can coach our defense. No, Wink's going to have to outcoach that guy. You got that the returning quarterback. That kid's an all-American quarterback. We got to do some things to mess with him, man. We got a guy that's going to make a second start, and they got a guy that started 20 games. So we got to do a job on defense, man.
I love it. Well, Scar, you weren't vanilla today. You brought it. You were able to unload the playbook, and you went through the pages. I want to remind people out there, and I see it because Ferris got us going a couple weeks ago. If you're not a subscriber to this podcast, we ask you to subscribe. I'm ready and trying to get the 5K before kickoff. I've got 10 days. So if you are a subscriber, you can say, hey, you're telling us I already subscribed. How about tell someone else that is a Michigan fan to subscribe to the Maize and Blue Review. to get us to that 5K so I can get that party going. We appreciate certainly the 5-star ratings on the podcast, any comments that moves you up through the algorithms. All of those things are appreciated. And like Sharon Moore would say, smash that like button. We enjoy that too. Scar, great job today.
Players are fired up because they know game week is with, a couple days away. They want to get done with camp, get to game week, start looking at Fresno, somebody else to beat up on, running out in front of 105, 110. Let's go. Aaron, all right, brother, trying to bring it. Go Blue.
There it is. Jim Scarcelli. Be with us next week. It'll be game week. Just imagine what he'll be like then.